an elite assassin, a stolen ride, and an epic bloodbath that started over one car. But here's what nobody told you. That legendary Mustang had a secret life before the movies, survived things it was never supposed to survive, and then quietly vanished from the world. Until now. Welcome back to CineBuster. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most iconic cars in Hollywood history, John Wick's 1969 Ford Mustang, and tracing exactly what happened to it from the very first time it appeared on screen to where those cars ended up when the cameras stopped rolling. This is not just a story about a cool car. It's the story of how a Mustang became a legend, got beaten nearly to death on camera, and then disappeared. With one extraordinary exception. Buckle up, because this ride gets wild. Before we get into it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to CineBuster for more deep dives into the cars, stunts, and secrets behind your favorite films. At the very beginning of the first movie, we see a tense moment at a gas station. Yosef Tarasov looks at John Wick's car and asks if it's a 1970 Boss 429.
Mustang. Boss 429. She's 70. 69.
John quietly corrects him. It's 1969. That short exchange made the car famous overnight. But here's the big secret of the movie. Real car fans knew something was wrong just by looking at it. The car roaring on screen was not a real Boss 429 at all. Instead, the filmmakers used a 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1 and dressed it up to look like a Boss 429. They needed a car that looked tough and mean. And since a real Boss 429 was nearly impossible to find in multiples, the Mach 1 played the part perfectly. Why did the filmmakers use a stand-in? The answer is simple: money and protecting history. The 1969 Boss 429 is one of the rarest muscle cars ever made. Ford only produced around 859 of them in 1969 due to special NASCAR homologation rules. And today, a clean example can sell well for over $500,000. Side note, I bet if Yosef told his father Vigo about the asshole who wouldn't sell his Mustang, Vigo probably would have just bought him a real Boss 429 instead of breaking and entering and committing Grand Theft Auto on a retired hitman. But then, I guess there's the plot. Okay, I digress. The directors knew these cars were going to be smashed, crashed, and destroyed during filming. Wrecking even one real Boss 429 would have been financially catastrophic and would have made muscle car fans furious worldwide. By contrast, Ford built over 72,000 Mach 1 Mustangs in 1969 alone. They were far easier to source, cheaper to acquire, and perfect for absorbing the brutal punishment of real movie stunts. Because the filmmakers combined styling cues from multiple Mustang variants to build their screen car, they accidentally created something brand new. Car lovers around the world fell in love with the result and started calling it the Hitman Mustang. It doesn't perfectly match any single factory car Ford ever built. Instead, it pulls the best and meanest elements from the 1969 and 1970 Mach 1, the Boss 429, and even the Shelby Mustang lineup, all fused into one dark, silent weapon on wheels. The demand became so real that Classic Recreations, a Dallas-based custom shop, obtained an official Ford license to build turnkey replicas starting at $169,000, complete with a modern 5.0-liter Coyote V8, producing up to 1,000 horsepower. A fake movie prop became one of the most coveted custom builds in America. Here's something most fans completely missed. Before the Mustang ever appeared in the films, the franchise quietly gave it an entire backstory, and it goes back to the 1970s. In the 2023 Peacock prequel series, The Continental, from the world of John Wick, set decades before the movies, a young Winston Scott borrows a 1969 Mustang Mach 1 nicknamed Maria from his uncle Charlie, a crime scene cleaner who calls it the love of my life. The show confirms this is the exact same car John Wick drives in the films. It carries the identical license plate number, XAB-235, linking the two timelines together. The implication is clear. Winston eventually takes possession of Maria and passes her down to John, which explains the deep emotional bond John has with the car that goes beyond just nostalgia for his late wife. It's a car steeped in the world of assassins, going all the way back to its very first owner. Car obsessives who paused on every frame of the film noticed a detail that sparked a long-running debate online. The promotional materials and fan posts circulating after the first movie often showed the Mustang wearing VF542 Eliminator wheels, a deep dish 5-spoke design worth roughly $1,000 per corner. It looked incredible and felt completely on brand for a deadly assassin's ride. But if you freeze frame the actual film, the car is riding on classic Magnum 500 wheels, wrapped in Firestone wide oval tires. A period-correct choice that would have been right at home on any serious 1969 muscle car. It's a small detail, but it shows just how carefully the car's look was crafted and how closely fans were paying attention to every single bolt on that car. The opening sequence of John Wick Chapter 2 is widely considered one of the greatest car action scenes ever filmed, and it came at a serious cost. The crew needed John to jump his Mustang sideways out of a warehouse door in a drifting airborne move that had never been done before with a real car. Stunt driver Jeremy Fry, a veteran who had worked on Fast and Furious and the Bourne series, said the idea came from a car stunt he had seen in the animated film Big Hero 6 and pitched it to second unit director Darren Prescott. The challenge was brutal. The warehouse door was only 20 feet wide, and the car was 18 feet long, leaving barely a foot of clearance on each side at speed. On the very first take, Fry clipped the door frame, and the impact destroyed the Mustang's entire front end. He told reporters he was physically fine, but emotionally destroyed. It took 7 or 8 total attempts, with the crew smashing through multiple Mustangs in the process. When they finally nailed it on take 5, Prescott said it felt like they had won the Super Bowl. One of my favorite scenes from the 2014 film John Wick is how this car fits his retired, or I guess semi-hitman lifestyle. When he's driving at the airport, he's visibly pushing himself and his stallion to the limits, and it's beautiful to watch. But it fits his persona on how even if he has no target or mission, he is remaining focused. His reflexes, handling, and depth perception are still acceptable.
It's a matter of focus, commitment, and sheer will.
And the precision of his braking to stop before hitting the bulldozer shows that he's still able to trust his timing and his ride with his life. Behind the wheel or counting rounds from a Kimber 1911, he knows exactly what his limits and capabilities are. Every modification on the Hitman Mustang was chosen to tell a specific visual story. The exposed hood pins bolting down the hood are a Mach 1 detail that was never found on a real Boss 429, but they give the car an aggressive, ready-to-race look that matches John Wick's energy perfectly. The hood scoop is actually pulled from a 1970 Mach 1, smaller than the famous functional Boss 429 Ram Air scoop and completely non-functional. It's pure attitude. The dark commanding paint color of the movie car is awesome, but it did not come from any Ford factory. The car is finished in a very deep, almost gunmetal gray with 2 low gloss black racing stripes on the hood. Fans fell so hard for this color that they named it Hitman Gray. Put it all together and you have a machine that shouldn't exist on paper but looks absolutely perfect on screen. As I mentioned earlier, the paint job on the Mustang looks incredible. However, getting that color scheme on a real factory Boss 429 is impossible. You see, in 1969, Ford only offered the Boss 429 in bright colors like white, candy apple red, and black jade green. They needed the car to visually match the sharp charcoal suits John Wick wears throughout the films. The car and the man are essentially the same object: dark, precise, and deeply dangerous. The car sequences in John Wick changed how action films approach vehicle stunts. Director Chad Stahelski, a former stuntman himself, refused to film standard chase scenes where cars just race in a straight line. Instead, his team developed a philosophy they called Car Fu, treating the Mustang not as a getaway vehicle, but as an offensive weapon in the same category as John's fists or his firearms. Every slide, spin, reverse J-turn, and ramming maneuver was choreographed with the same precision as a martial arts sequence. Stahelski spent 3 months choreographing the opening sequence of Chapter 2 alone, which second unit director Darren Prescott famously called a car gangbang. The Mustang was not just transportation. In John Wick's hands, it was a loaded weapon with a V8. Keanu Reeves is famous for doing his own stunts, But even his most dedicated efforts came with consequences. For Chapter 2, Reeves trained extensively in precision driving, including reverse 180-degree turns and high-speed controlled slides. Stunt coordinator Darren Prescott called him one of the best actor drivers in the business. During the opening warehouse sequence, the production allowed Reeves to personally ram the Mustang into other vehicles during several scenes. On one particular reverse impact, Keanu hit an enemy so hard that he completely tore the steering wheel off the steering column. He later recalled being genuinely surprised they let him do it, and even more surprised by the result. It was that kind of total commitment, from the lead actor down to every stunt driver on the crew, that made the car sequences in John Wick feel unlike anything audiences have seen before. The Mustang's personality on screen was not just visual, it was sonic. The sound design team on John Wick worked to give the car a voice that felt as menacing and precise as the character driving it. The sound work across the franchise was widely praised by critics and film experts for making every weapon, car, and collision feel physically real to the audience. The Mustang's engine note in particular was designed to feel like an extension of John Wick himself. Powerful, controlled, and impossible to ignore. When that car roars to life on screen, it doesn't just sound like a muscle car. It sounds like a predator that has already decided what happens next. This is the question everyone eventually asks, and the answer is more complicated than you might expect. For the first John Wick film, the production team sourced 2 Mustangs, and remarkably, neither was destroyed during filming. But Chapter 2 was an entirely different story. 5 Mustangs were acquired for the sequel, and stunt driver Jeremy Fry later said simply, "We just smashed them all." The warehouse jump sequence alone destroyed at least 1 car on the first failed take. Keanu Reeves personally destroyed others during the ramming sequences. By the time filming wrapped, the carnage was total, or almost total. 1 car survived. Bonhams confirmed that a screen-used 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1 from John Wick Chapter 2, car number 405 built for the production, made it through filming intact enough to be authenticated. According to Bonhams, it was driven by Keanu Reeves in the film's opening chase sequence. That car was a genuine M-Code Mach 1, powered by a 351 Ci V8, and still carries physical evidence of his time on set. Roof screw holes from a mounted driving rig, underbody camera mount points, and visible damage, including a missing driver's door. The car went to auction in November 2025, with estimates ranging from $98,000 to over $161,000, making it one of the most historically significant muscle cars ever offered at public sale. The winning bid was roughly at $165,000. Meanwhile, a private seller separately listed another claimed stunt Mustang from Chapter 2, reportedly used in the opening scene and the Aurelio Chop Shop sequence, with documentation from the original stunt car supplier. Whether or not every surviving piece of these cars can be fully traced, one thing is for certain: most of them died exactly the way John Wick would have wanted. Fast, violent, and completely without mercy. And there you have it, the full story of what happened to John Wick's legendary 1969 Ford Mustang. From Uncle Charlie's garage in the 1970s, all the way to the Bonhams auction block in 2025. From a borrowed car nicknamed Maria, to a pop culture icon that spawned a whole new category of custom build, to a fleet of Mach 1s that gave everything they had for the camera. This Mustang lived a bigger life than almost any car in Hollywood history. If you want more deep dives like this one, hit subscribe right now and join the CineBuster community. Let us know in the comments which fact hit hardest, and we'll see you in the next video.